Alright, folks. Brother D here. Is there a play button? Okay, this one. Let's start here. Brother D here again, your life applications officer. I don't know if I'm finishing up on this SKJV or not. I know that I'm going to be reading it. You might ask the question, why would you get a SKJV after everything we talked about on your channel, Brother D? Because if you know, number one, that I am TR, I'm a TR activist, and I do defend the King James. And as I said in the videos before this one, that even though I'm not King James only, I defend the King James because of the TR. It is the Bible of the TR that brought us in to having a text that is opposite of the text of the critical text. And we need that. We need more than the critical text. We need more, we need better, we need ancient. We need something that goes back in time to the way church history was explained and talked about back then, these inquiries that are in the Bible that we talk about every day. What did the King James actually say without all the archaisms and the these and the thous and all that stuff get in the way? Can we have a King James Bible that is just King James without all that other stuff getting in the way? Now, to a lot of KJV onlyists, what I just said is so offensive. But I'm not here to take one side or the other. I'm here to talk about this great Bible that if you are a King James onlyist and you think there's something wrong with this Bible should not be available, that this Bible is not a King James Bible, you're an idiot. And if you're a critical text person and you think that this Bible has no place in the chain of Bibles, you are a knucklehead and an idiot, okay? Now, first of all, again, the way this Bible's laid out, I'm glad I waited, because if I had got the hardback with the smaller print and all the stuff in it, you know, no concordance, you know, just the one index to let you know how they change things, and the preface, and a small print, and you know, some devotions here and there, I would have been bored with it. But because this has been laid out like this, I've spent some time in it. And what I love about it, before I move on one more time, I love to know what the King James says. A lot of times, I'm always defending the New King James. I'm always defending modern translations against the King James without knowing what the King James says. This Bible right here, I can actually go and read what the King James says and find out why the King James is still a gem in our biblical history today, in the, you know, roadmap, the ongoing, you know, vehicles of translation. Why is the King James still a #1 bestseller? Why is it so wonderful? Why do people, with all these other modern translations, putting in the things that the King James wasn't concerned about, and cleaning up some of the so-called mess of the King James. Why does anybody even bother to read the King James? Because whatever's wrong with the King James is the only Bible that says what it says, both wrong and right. Let me say that again. Because whatever is wrong with the King James, only the King James says what it says, wrong and right. Highlight right. Because some of the stuff that you call wrong is just simply Textus Receptus. Okay? And there's no other Bible like the King James. And if we are going to look at the manuscripts and put in words for clarity, thumbs up for the King James. If we are going to look at the manuscripts and when we create the text, we're going to try to cover for the, so to speak, for the manuscripts. We're going to try and fix what might not come to your understanding, okay? Like this passage right here, talking about the satyrs. I'll talk about that in a minute. Why was that not removed from the King James? It's removed from every other translation. Why was that not removed from the SKJV? Now, in the KJVER, that word is translated what it means. There are only the Amplified has a good footnote for the passage. Isaiah chapters 13 and 34, talking about maybe the same place, I'm not sure, or two different places that have the same issue going on. I need to read the whole chapter, but I read most of it. There was more going on in this place, and this is why we love the King James, because the King James left that in there, where even my MEV and my New King James decided that they would rather just cover it up instead of spook you with what might have been going on there in Isaiah chapter 13 and chapter 34. Now, this SKJV translated the word dragons, it translated the unicorns, it translated certain words that cause confusion and that should not been even in the Bible back in the day. It had nothing to do with the Bible. It had more to do with maybe Greek mythology, or it had more to do with the Apocrypha or something of that nature. And they left certain things in the 66 books. In the King James, both the 1769 and the 1611, they left certain things in there. And it's also in the Geneva. It's in a lot of the translations. And I looked this up on YouTube. It's in a lot of translations that came before 1769, talking about these two places in Isaiah chapter 13 and chapter 34, where you got a half goat, half man thing going on there in the darkness in this isolated country. Okay, this part of the world. And why would they leave that in there? Because, and I was so blessed. A guy did a whole hour documentary on the whole thing about the satyrs, chapters 13 and 34. I had to look this up. That's what I love about YouTube. You can look just about anything up and find something that will help you out. This guy, I had to subscribe, and he was not a King James onlyist either, but he went to the ancient texts and the ancient versions of the Bible to talk about these things. He did not go to the Apocrypha. He did not go to any books that were outside the Bible. He said you can study all this right within the text of the Bible, especially the King James Version. So, these words, I understand why certain things were not removed from the SKJV, the Simplified King James Version. Okay, I understand why certain things weren't moved, weren't translated, weren't taken out as they are in the modern translations, and even the New King James and the MEV, they just, and you can now see the way it's set up in the New King James and the MEV. You can do study and find out that those words mean more than just, but somebody reading the New King James or the MEV will read the verses and slip right over that. But that one word, Seder, that was left in the SKJV, that one word alone will make you look at those whole entire 2 chapters, anywhere where the word Seder shows up. It will make you think again about what's really going on there. And this is one of the gems of the King James that people don't want to talk about. Okay? And so I understand that. And I'm glad to own a Bible that is definitely King James. He's not a translation. It's not a new translation. It's just a King James that is set up for our day and time that we can read it. I'm totally impressed with this SKJV because, like my man from Biovocational said, and I forgot to record. I didn't record the video before this. I got 2 videos that I'm going to be recording both of these at the same time. But my man from Biovocational, he said that how did he say it? He said that this Bible should have been done a long time ago. And if this Bible had been done a long time ago, you probably wouldn't have needed a New King James or an MEV or, and I disagree with that. I understand what he's saying when he said that, but I disagree. I believe that the New King James is the best update of the King James. But see, when you get to Isaiah chapter 13 and 34, and there's so much more, it's just, I'm just using 13 and 34 of Isaiah for an example. There's so much more gems in the King James that we just cover up because the Hebrew isn't clear, or either the Hebrew isn't clear, and again, I'm gonna say it again, the modern translations are allowed to ad lib to where the Hebrew isn't clear. The New American Standard does it. The Lockman Foundation's Bible do it, especially the Amplified. Modern versions, the Nestle Allen text is allowed to ad lib to where it's not. You see that funny ugly dude right there? The Nestle Allen is allowed to add to the text, to ad lib and for clarity. the King James gets scrutiny for that. I'll never understand that for the life of myself. Like, why cannot the King James fix 2 Samuel 21:19 and fix Bathsheba's purification and put it where it really is? But yet the modern translations are allowed to put concubines in Ecclesiastes chapter 2. Were they really there? I'm going to let this play again. Were they really there in chapter 2? Were the concubines in the actual Hebrew in that chapter? Do we know what is meant by in Ecclesiastes chapter 12 when it says the desire of the old man will fail? Do we know that it's talking about sexual desire? Do we know it's talking about the capable berry plant? Where's that at in the Hebrew? No, you added that in there because you, with careful study, you understand that it belongs there. Okay? Why can't the King James do the same thing? Or just leave what's in the Hebrew? Now, before I forget, if you own a King James Bible, whether it be this Bible or a regular King James, you need to have a Strong's Concordance. A Strong's Concordance. Matter of fact, the Strong's Concordance, the KJV, going all the way back to my childhood, the KJV is all about the Strongs, or the Strongs is all about the KJV, I should say. Okay? And I went and I uploaded a Bible dictionary last night, and I also uploaded the Strong's Concordance. And I'm telling you what, the Strong's Concordance is how you get around the King James. How you go to the passage. If the word is in a passage, there's a number for it to let you know what that word means. And if that word changes, like let's say the word, let's say, what kind of word? Let's say the word faith means a different thing in one passage than it does another. Let's say the word salvation means one thing in one passage but something different in another. The Strong's Concordance will have different numbers on those two forms of salvation and let you know that one means being born again, the other one means you were saved from the destruction of what was going on in your city. Just to be clear, common sense told you that, but just for the sake of preaching God's word and getting the right things out to those that are hearing you, you went to the Strongs and you got that right. Okay, I'm gonna say that first of all. This Bible is definitely easier to read. I've read my favorite psalm in this Bible, Psalms 91. And yes, in here, this is a King James Bible, baby. And it says the secret place. Anybody that's been coming to my channel knows that I love Psalms 91, verse 1. I've memorized that one verse because to me, it is what being saved is all about. And, does Job fear God for nothing? No. Job fears God because Job abided in the secret place of the Most High God. And even when God allowed Satan to afflict Job, Job still was in the secret place, oh hallelujah, of the Most High God. Okay? Abusers of themselves with mankind. Now, we understand that, and I watched a bunch of a series of YouTube videos on the phrase, abusers of themselves with mankind, 1 Corinthians 6:9 and 10, okay? The abusers of themselves with mankind is the definition of what homosexuals are doing when men sleep with other men. Women, that's nasty. And that is, but when you say, there's two things, one in Timothy and one in 1 Corinthians 6:9. They're the only two passages that say it like this. 1 Corinthians says, abusers of themselves with mankind. 1 Timothy says, defile themselves with mankind. Okay? Both of these are explaining what you're doing when you practice sexual immorality, especially a man sleeping with another man. And it's actually, if you look it up in the Strong's, it is a sodomite. It is a sodomite. That's what that is. Abusers of themselves with mankind is a sodomite. So, back in the day, I hate to get nasty, but back in the day, you didn't have as much different things that you could go to the cosmetic section and buy for your sex life, your outlandish, crazy behind sex life, like you could today. You can go get lube and all that kind of stuff today. Back in the day, you used other things. Okay. Now the Middle East in the Bible and Africa and all like that is big on their oils. So, they was using some organic, serious oils and that to pour into their crazy sexual behaviors. That still didn't save them. Now today we call it AIDS. Okay. But back then, it probably was still AIDS, but they called it by something else. And then there were other diseases that came from those movements. I don't even want to imagine being there was not the science that we have today going on back then and the medicine that we got today going on back then. Oh my God. I don't even want to imagine what, a STD on you. You know what I'm saying? And the Bible clearly says that these sodomites, they died, just like they do today. Now today we haven't done any better. Sure, we make it more pleasurable with all the stuff, and then we go to the doctor and the doctor tells us, oh, you've been diagnosed with so and so and so and so, and yes, that comes from your sex life. So you might want to wear condoms and blah, 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 blah. But the thing is, you've already been diagnosed. You're going to die. You're going to die early. Wearing a condom is not going to help you. Okay, you've already been diagnosed. Once you get diagnosed, that's it. Okay, and some people wear condoms every day to do anything and everything, and they still get diagnosed. Explain that to me. Okay, because God does not approve of that behavior. That's all I can see. So when you say abusers of themselves with mankind, that's what they were talking about. They weren't talking about, oh, you're just gay or you're just a sodomite. They were talking about when you practice sodomy, when you practice homosexuality, and the King James is known for this all over the Bible. When you practice certain things, this is the outcome. Now, in the modern translations, including my New King James and MEV, we get what it is while we're having pleasure in those things. The King James will tell you what it is after the pleasure. Okay, for example, in Ecclesiastes chapter 2, in the modern translations, including New King James, MEV, is chasing the wind. Vanity means chasing the wind. But in the SKJV and the King James, it's vanity and vexation of spirit. Why? Because after you get done chasing the wind, Sin only lasts for a season, and then you are going to have vexation of spirit. You're going to be broken in ways that hurt. Some guy felt that it was necessary just the other day to let me know that he was gay by telling me that he was a whore. And I had to figure out, and he said it in a very gay tone, I realized, oh, and he was sitting next to somebody else that was a homosexual that I know too. And I was like, oh, well, you're already gay. You don't want to be a whore. Okay, that's going to catch up with you real fast. Okay, being gay is whorish enough. You want to say, oh, I'm a whore? I don't know why he felt he needed to tell me that. I guess I wasn't minding my own business because he was sitting there talking. And I figured he was just like, I thought he was talking about something serious. You know, I thought he was trying to say that, you know, he's a cop, you know, or something like that when he's not working or something like that. So I said, what are you? He said, oh, you really want to know? I'm a whore. And then I'm like, and then the other gay dude was like, you sure you want to be in this conversation? I said, no, I need to mind my own business. Okay? Enough of the gay stuff. Abusers of themselves with mankind is, just like many other passages in the King James, what happens after you commit these crimes against God. Then you are abusers of yourselves with mankind. You know that your diagnosis from the doctor is bad. And you're also defiling yourselves with mankind too, because you are not practicing God's design for marriage, love, and sex. You are practicing the devil's design for sexual impurity is what you're practicing. Okay. Again, I talked about the satyrs and how in the 13th and the 34th chapter of Isaiah, the SKJV did not fail to translate that. They left it in there because it is pro-King James. It is one of them gems about the King James that you want to study instead of just judging and passing over it. And so this is why I'm glad I have a Bible that I can read and find out what the King James actually says and not be pushed away by these words that everybody's afraid of. Okay? Just because these words go outside our Bible and take us other places, but actually these words came from the Apocrypha. And these words came from ancient demonic civilization and behaviors in the past. That's how they got into our Bible. Not because they're made up, but because people actually practiced these things and people actually saw these things. People that play around with demonism or demonology have seen things that you'll never see. The prophets have saw things that we'll never see. And they put it in the Bible, and we should not cover it up, but use it for our studies, okay? While we're looking at the, before I start looking at some of the slides, while we're looking at the Bible itself, I want to say that the concordance in the Bible is usually, the concordance dictionary they call it in here, has a few things in it, but most of it is, you know, just to warn you, most of it is about places and names of people. Names of places and names of people is what the concordance is about. There's not really many Christian theological keywords in the concordance. It's more about places and people's names, okay? So I just want to warn you of that. I was a little disappointed. I tried to look up some things in the dictionary concordance, and none of them were there. So that's a con in this particular version of this Bible. You might want to be aware of that if you're planning on buying this Bible, and I hope you are, because it is a knockout. I hope the NKJV, the MEV, and the SKJV is what we're reviewing right here. I hope they're here forever. I think the New King James is still, my number one sidearm, okay? It's the one that I take out of the house. It's the one that I take to church with me. It's the one, I keep one in my car. I keep one, I always have, it with me. I always keep a King James version, a New King James version on my tail. It's always one right beside me, okay? The MEV, I could take that out on my tail with me, but the thing is, or on my hip, I should say. But the thing is, the MEV is still fairly new. A lot of people have not clicked onto it yet. They don't get it yet. So, unless I'm hanging out with MEV people or people with modern translations, I might want to be careful of taking the MEV out on the road with me, and quoting from the MEV in a public audience. Okay, the SKJV, I can take it anywhere with me. I can take it absolutely anywhere with me. Because the King James fits anywhere and everywhere. Even if, your translation says being saved and mine says saved, okay, we're not going to waste time with that, and if I say abusers of themselves with mankind and you say the word homosexual, okay, we could be talking all day about what's going on here, because it all ties in together. I can take the SKJV, the Simplified King James Version, anywhere with me, just like I take, or most people will take a King James anywhere with them. So that's what another thing I love about the SKJV. If I say it's a King James Bible, they're going to be like, okay, brace yourselves. I know what he's going to say. Brace yourselves, okay? There's no problem in taking it anywhere. I can take this SKJV anywhere. Okay? But I hope the NKJV, the MEV, the SKJV, even this NLV translation that I have, it's not the New Living Translation. It's the New Life version. I hope all these just, and I hope the KJVER is around for a while. Now, from what I hear, some people are saying that the KJVER has already been taken off the shelves. I don't know how true that is. I know if I go online right now, they're selling them on Amazon, and I think you can get them at Christian Books now. I'm not sure. I don't understand why they took them off the shelves that fast. They just came out with a new one in 2024 or 2023, one of the two. You mean to tell me they're just like completely off the shelves now, like no one sells them anymore? Somebody else on YouTube said that you can go to a thrift store, or you can go to like some, Walmart or some store, thrift store or something, and find them, sitting in a bin, find one sitting in a bin or something like that. I think you're talking back in time. I think, because there's an updated, there's new leathers and all that kind of stuff for the KJVER now. So I don't understand. I don't understand. I have to look it up. But I just hope all these Bibles keep their place and they don't fade out like the 21st century King James did. Now, Pastor Ingram, Scott Ingram, he said that the 21st century King James is very similar to, he didn't say it was very similar to the SKJV. He said it's very similar to the regular King James. I'd like him to do a review about the SKJV. I can't wait till he does that. I'm going to ask him And matter of fact, I did ask him if he's ever done a review on it yet. But this Bible is not just, this Bible is a Bible. And it is a King James Bible. It takes what's in the KJVER and makes a complete Bible out of it. So you can read this Bible. And by the way, the KJVER does not even translate the word Seder. It decided that word doesn't need to be translated. You don't need to know what that means. You can find out what that means. If you don't know what that means, shame on you. But I love how the KJVER underline the words so that you understand what they mean, and then you can take all those underlined words and the definitions to them and say, hold on, there's more going on here than what I thought was going on here. And that's the beauty of the King James. That really is the beauty of the King James. Again, there are no false friends in this Bible. There are no false friends. Easy to read for average readers. It is. Mark Ward should be doing a review on this Bible. I'd like to see Mark Ward talk about this Bible. He failed to talk about the KJVER. He did say something about this Bible because he read a comment that somebody asked him. Somebody did ask Mark Ward about this Bible. But I would like to see Mark Ward read this Bible. But see, Mark Ward, if he read this Bible, he would have to change around his whole, it would crush his whole false friends campaign. It really would. It would crush him. He would have to do YouTube videos about something else if he was to read this Bible. Because here we have a King James Bible that's a King James Bible without the false friends getting in the way, without all the, mistranslation and getting in the way. And I watched a video yesterday where I got out my SKJV and I started following him along, and the SKJV fixed some things. Might make the King James onlyists mad, but it fixed some things that really needed to be fixed. I was totally impressed. Okay, this Bible, I have read it for the last 2 or 3 days, just been reading through it, and I haven't just been like comparing it, I've been reading it, and I'm blessed by it. Psalms 91 is clearer in here more than it is in the King James, LSB. My favorite chapter is more clearer in here than it is in the LSB, New King James, MEV, even New American Standard. It's clearer in here. It's more easy to read in here. I read in Ephesians, clear in here. 1 John, everywhere I read, they put words in there that are the more easier equivalent. For example, in Psalms 91, they changed the word noisome to dangerous. Now, in the King James, it says noisome pestilence. And I always had to keep looking up what the word noisome meant. But here I know what it means, but because I've looked it up so many times. But now they translated it dangerous. So I read the whole psalm again after realizing they changed that one word. And I read it again and I found out they changed other words too that get in the way of you getting the most out of the psalm. And there's so many places. I read in Acts chapter 2. They changed the word utterance to speech. As the Lord gave them speech. Okay, because some people might look at the word utterance, a lot of Pentecostals per se, may look at the word utterance and make a sermon on just the word utterance alone and put in there something that don't belong in there, okay? This Bible is not just another King James. It's not just, and I wasn't calling it an update. It is an update. It's an update, but it's not a new translation. It's an update, but it's not a new translation. This is 100% King James, just like my KJVER is 100% King James. If you don't think it's 100% King James, you are in a cult. And you need to pick this Bible up and read it, okay? I mentioned to you about the Strong's Concordance app. Okay, there's my video. Again, KJVers should be proud. But they're not. One guy already looked at this Bible and said, it's not a King James. If you take the these and the thous out, it's not a King James. I disagree. It doesn't read like the King James. It's not King James unless it has the Elizabethan language. It's not King James, And then I listened to Steve Waldron. He's like, wow, this is a nice Bible. He was totally impressed when he had the look on his face like, what is going on here? And then he just had to say it. He had to say it. He said, well, there's no these and the thous. Because see, the these and the thous. What part of John chapter 3 do we not realize that Jesus is talking to everybody, especially the Jews that followed Nicodemus? He's talking to everybody. I think anybody that's translated outside the King James had to understand that before going any further. They made sure there's something in every text, every chapter to let you know who's talking to who. If you use regular English, okay, or updated English to talk about a passage, you're going to know who they're talking about. Now, sometimes you know who they're talking about because of who Jesus is. Sometimes you know what he's talking about because of the chapter before that. But, there's no reason to assume that Jesus is not talking to all of us in most passages. To me, Jesus is always talking to everybody. You don't need a thee or a thou to explain that to me. I know he's talking to me. When I read the Bible, why am I reading it if he ain't talking to me? I don't care about him talking to Nicodemus. If Nicodemus is the only one that has to be born again, that's no fun. I'm not going to read it. I don't know, but Steve, they took out the these and the thous and nice Bible, if you want to get it, you go, yeah, but they took out the these and the thous. This is the 100% King James Bible. If you don't think it is, you need to get out of your own butt crack and get out and read more. Read other stuff than your King James. And the funny thing is, he went and he thought that he was going to go and get a different rendering. Yeah, but they took out the these and the thous, So, okay. So as long as, why don't we just say this? If the these and the thous are missing, then it's a bad Bible because the these and the thous are gone. It's not a King James. It's not a good translation because there's no these and thous in it. That's the most idiotic thing I could ever hear. Okay, get out my face with that. Okay, I'm sorry, Steve Waldron. I love you and your oneness craziness, but you like a lot of other King James onlyists need to get out of your own butt crack and start reading and studying, catch up with the times, like it says here. Like it says on the box that is KJVER. Okay? it says, Barber Simplified KJV Bible builds off the familiarity, trustworthiness of the King James Version while removing difficulties. Oh, this is the top. The King James Version of the Bible has stood the test of time. Yes, it has. Now it's catching up with the times. Sorry, Mr. Waldron, but you need to catch up with the times. Just like the King James is going to leave you and catch up with the times. Folks, the King James is moving forward. Even the King James onlyists, with Bibles like this coming out now, even the King James onlyists are not going to be able to keep the King James from actually saying what it really says. Because the King James is moving with the times. Thank you, Lord. Let me see if I can go to my other videos here. Well, they're not videos, they're slides. There's a good look at my version. Got my name on it. Beautiful Bible. Beautiful Bible. Here's Psalms chapter 34. Here's the verses that I talked about. Let me give you a second and look at that. The word Seder in there, when you look it up, it helps you to understand there's more going on here than just some desolated places with, okay. Now the NLT, and I think another one of my versions, might be the New Life Version, called this place haunted. Okay. It's more than haunted, because there was something dwelling there that wasn't supposed to be there. Okay. What's it say here? This is chapter 34. The wild beasts of the desert shall be there, and their houses shall be. One thing about the modern versions is they say this differently. They give the screech owl or whatever, they make a big deal about the screech owl. They don't make a big deal about the word Seder. But the word Seder is what, according to the King James, all these other animals were just animals. It's the Seder that you got to worry about. Okay? And it's opened up a whole bunch of knowledge to me about the Bible, just by trying to figure out why they didn't translate that word Seder when every other translation did. Even the New King James and the MEV. But here, it says, but wild beasts of the desert shall be there, and their houses shall be full of gloomy creatures. Gloomy creatures. Now, some of y'all, well, that's the King James problem. King James, that's why I don't particularly like the King James. Okay? And owls shall dwell there, and satyrs shall dance there. And, okay, well, you know, you've seen goats dance with each other before, right? And the wild beasts of the land shall cry in their desolate houses, and jackals in their... Now, one thing about the SKJV, the word jackals is in every translation, maybe except the King James. They translate whatever word that is in the King James to jackals, and they did it also here in the SKJV. It's jackals, which you cannot look up the word jackals in the English dictionary. You have to go to a German dictionary to look up the word jackals, because it's a thing of Germany. Help me, Lord. But you can go on Google and find it. But anyway, jackals in their pleasant palaces, and her time will come soon, and her days shall not be prolonged. Okay? What else we got? Now, here's my NLV, not to get it twitted with the NLT. Okay? I got to get my stepson his own leather-bound copy again, because he lost the other one I sent him of this Bible. I'm going to get it for him for Christmas. But in here, It says in the text, the night demon. There's a night demon in this place that they're talking about. A night demon. Okay, there it is. NLV, New Life Version, night demon. Okay? In that passage, night demon. This is a Bible that's very much like the NLT, where it just breaks everything down for you. It'll break down. This Bible has the most words in it because it'll take a word and break down what the word means in the text. Instead of just giving you another word for that word, it'll break down what the word means. Just like if you say the word prostitute, it'll say, oh, a woman that sells the use of her body. If you say homosexual, it'll say a man that has sex with other men. Okay, it'll so this Bible, out of all the Bibles, has the most words in it. But here it says night demon to translate what the screech owl is. So you got a night demon there and you got satyrs there. In this passage, and this is a modern translation from the majority text, not the Nestle Island, but the majority text. This is night demon. It's really weird. Okay, strange. The LSB also has in its footnote, I didn't put it in here, but in the footnotes it also says that when you get to the word satyr, which the word satyr is not in there, there's another word to replace the word satyr, shaggy goat or whatever, like the New King James. It translates that word goat or whatever kind of goat it calls it. It translates that to or demon satyr. Okay, and my favorite is the amplified winds. The amplified winds. And right now, my two favorite Bibles to have on me for study is this SKJV and this amplified. And as you can see here, I thought it was there. It is right there. 13 verse 21. Another possibility is goat demons. Goat demons, okay? I'm going to look in my Nelson Complete Edition and see if it talks about this at all. It should, but if it don't, there you go. And this is why people still read the King James, because even in study Bibles, they don't explain this stuff a lot of times, okay? Here it is again in the other chapter. Or demon satyr, amplified. Or demon satyr. Hairy goat, or demon satyr. Now the King James says satyr. And that's it, folks. Thank you for watching. You've been a blessing. There's a reason why we read the King James. Okay, we read it because no other Bible is like it. And now we have a King James that everybody can read. Whether you're critical text or whether you are TR, you can read the King James if you so want to, because we have one that is readable now, and we have one that is accurate and correct. Its goal is to be a King James without all the mistakes and that getting in the way. Okay, easy to read King James. So we have the KJVER and we have this, and I got a feeling that I'm worried that this might oversee the New King James. You know, because a lot of people are saying that they've been waiting for a Bible like this to come out, and they went New King James because this was not available. A lot of people are saying that. Especially on the King James side. But then you have the other side of the King James side, was the King James only, is where, no matter what you do to make the King James easier to read, it's not a King James Bible. Yeah, that's nice, but see, don't have no these or thous, so it's not a King James. You got to put the these and thou then. That's not what the text says. That's not what it says in the preface to the King James. This is why I'm not King James only, because of people like that who misuse and abuse the reading of the King James. And again, I'm glad I wasn't just King James only, especially back in the day when I started, because the only reason why I knew how to read the Bible was from modern translations. It was very difficult for me to read, you know. Now, if this had been out there way back then, I would have spent more time reading it. And maybe after a lot of reading, I would have went back to, like, let's say Psalms, chapter 23 and said, oh, the word want means lack, okay? But I would have had to read that word want and carry that chain throughout the Bible, like a lot of other King James only people have done, before they found out what's really going on there, okay? And other passages too. Just like the abusers of themselves with mankind. A lot of them didn't know it by looking it up in the Strong's or Greek or, but they learned it by reading it in other places and finding out what abusers in the KJV, mankind, looking up the word mankind and all like that, and they came with the idea that it must be talking about, ungodly sexuality, okay? And when someone else looks that up in the Strong's or looks that up in the Geneva, because the Geneva used the word buggerers, and if you look up the word buggerers even today in our modern English, it's a homosexual. And, if I was called a homosexual today, a buggerer, I know a buggerer every day. Let me shut up. But if you call somebody that today, what you call me, boy? Let me get out of here. Thank you for watching. This has been great. I'm not done with my reviews on this SKJV. I'm going to be talking about this for a while, because just like the KJVER, I have a series. I want people to get into this Bible. I want King James lovers to give this Bible a chance. I want King James onlyists to look at this Bible and weep. I want Mark Ward to look at this Bible and weep. I want all you Nestle Island lovers and KJV haters to look at this Bible and weep. Because whoever, the translators, the people that put this together have done a good job on this Bible. Okay? God bless you. Thank you for watching.